Hello everyone. So our topic for today's session is chapter number 3, Applied History. Now what do you mean by applied history? So applied history is also known as public history. It is a field of study concerned with application of history for the benefit of people in the contemporary and future use. Okay, so now what do you mean by applied history? Applied history is when you see that what is the application of history. Okay, कि history हम लोग अब तक पढ़ते आ रहे हैं, we know what is history, but उसका application क्या है for the welfare of the people. Okay, that for the benefit of the people, what is the application कि हम लोग क्यों यूज़ करें history so that it could be beneficial to people, वो हम लोग को पता चलता है through applied history. Okay, so that is what we get to know from applied history. See over here it is given in the pink box that people have lot of misgivings about the practicality of the knowledge of history. For example, history is usually thought as a field of interest only for historians and students willing to pursue higher studies in the subject and not pertaining to practical life. History as a field of knowledge does not have any applicability to economical, productive fields, etc. Public history helps us to overcome such misgivings and makes history meaningful in everyday life, connecting people to history. There were many universities abroad where various courses in public histories are offered. Session Institute of Art, Design and Technology is an institute in Bangalore, Karnataka. This institute has an independent department named Center for Public History. This department has taken up various projects and research in the field of public history. Now talking about history, people usually feel that okay, we are learning just to learn, okay, कि just syllables में है इसके लिए पढ़ रहे हैं, but the main thing is we should always know about our history, right? हम लोग का क्या होता है, what we do is we get inspired by foreign culture and we try learning them, but instead if we learn our culture, it would be a wonderful thing because there are so many things happen in our culture, right? And it is again a part of history, right? So they are telling the same thing only, that public history is something which connects you, which helps us to know what is the main purpose, that why we are learning history and how it would be beneficial in our day-to-day life. Okay, कि हिस्ट्री पढ़ा वो तो सबको पता है, बट व्हाट इज़ द बेनिफिट ऑफ इट इन आर डे टू डे लाइफ, हाउ वी कैन कनेक्ट इट इन आर डे टू डे लाइफ इज समथिंग विच वी आर गोइंग टू लर्न. ओके, तो उसको बोलते हैं पब्लिक हिस्ट्री. नाउ टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस, देर आर सर्टेन इंस्टीट्यूशंस, ओके, विच हैव अ पर्टिकुलर डिपार्टमेंट विच जस्ट टॉक्स अबाउट दिस पर्टिकुलर topic. Now coming towards the next part, contemporary and future times. Knowledge of history is useful as it can provide guidance in finding solutions to contemporary social issues and incorporate them in social planning. Knowledge of history is essential in purpose. The projects and programs related to applied history can create opportunities for people to participate along with technical experts. This participation in the capacity of tourists visiting museums and ancient sites is also important. Tourists create interest in history among people. They can volunteer to participate in the conservation and preservation projects of their own city or village or town, right? That knowledge of history is useful. Why? Because it provides a guidance. वो क्या करता है? Now when you know, let us take a simple example, okay? एक छोटू सा simple example. If I want to grow a plant, okay, and I don't know about the history के मुझे कुछ पता ही नहीं उसको कौन सा which soil I have to provide, what time of particular water should I provide, कौन सा quantity कितना quantity होना चाहिए, मुझे कुछ पता नहीं. I'm just growing it randomly. Then that would be of no use, right? Because you should have a particular knowledge about that प्लांट. ओके, तो वही कि नॉलेज होना चाहिए दैट पर्टिकुलर थिंग के बारे में. हाउ वुड यू गेट नॉलेज व्हेन यू लर्न थिंग्स विच हैव हैपेंड इन पास्ट. नाउ अगर वही सेम प्लांट किसी और ने ग्रो किया होता, सो दे नो द हिस्ट्री कि उसको ये सॉइल चाहिए, उसको इतना पर्टिकुलर पानी चाहिए, अगर आप वैसा पर्टिकुलरली दोगे तो इट विल ग्रो बेटर, राइट. सो एक बेसिकली टू हैव इंफॉर्मेशन अबाउट अ पर्टिकुलर थिंग, राइट, इज कॉल्ड एज हिस्ट्री, राइट, कि उसको हिस्ट्री बोलते हैं. एंड अप्लाइड हिस्ट्री कैसे किसको बोलते हैं स्टूडेंट्स, टू अप्लाई इट इन आर डे टू डे लाइफ. पढ़ तो लिया, अब उसको प्रैक्टिकली कहाँ पे यूज़ करेंगे उसको बोलते हैं अप्लाइड हिस्ट्री, राइट. नाउ द मेन पार्ट ऑफ अप्लाइड हिस्ट्री इज़ कि सर्टन इंस्टीट्यूट्स आर बीन ओपन. व्हाट दे डू इज़ दे फोकस मोर ऑन टूरिज्म. ओके, द टूरिज्म शुड विजिट आर म्यूजियम्स, आर प्लेसेस. क्यों ऐसा होना चाहिए? सी इफ दे विजिट म्यूजियम, राइट, सपोज इफ़ दे विजिट एनी म्यूज़ियम विच इज़ ऑफ अ पॉलिटिशियन लीडर, लाइक अगर आप लोग ने देखा होगा, सो राजीव गांधी ने जो लास्ट टाइम जो वॉर में उनका जो भी लास्ट क्लॉथ जो पहना है उन्होंने, वो एक म्यूज़ियम में ये किया है, बताया गया है. सो नाउ व्हेन टूरिज्म कम्स, व्हेन टूरिस्ट कम एंड दे सी, सो इवन दे वंडर, राइट, कि हु वाज राजीव गांधी, उन्होंने क्या पहना था, कौन थे वो, एंड दैट इज़ हाउ दे वांट टू नो अबाउट हिम. So all of these informations or all of these things like tourists going to museums and learning about ancient sites, ancient places helps us to increase more of such information, right, that they create interest in history. के tourists जो होते हैं वो history में interest बढ़ाते हैं, and even they can volunteer to participate. कि जो conservation या वैसा कोई preservation का अगर हम लोग कोई projects कर रहे हैं तो even they can volunteer for that purpose, right. Now coming towards applied history and researches in various field. Now what is the use of applied history in various field? अभी ये जो plant का मैंने बोला that was just an example, but how this history is used for our various field, let us see. In our various fields, let us see. History is about the past events, right. The way our present lifestyle is changed is dependent on the historical change of events. Historical events it relates to various fields like politics, social and religious structure of community, philosophy, technology and science, etc. Each of these fields have their own history of building knowledge. The direction of future development in every field is dependent on the state of available knowledge. Hence, the method of history can prove to be the value in the research of various fields, right. Now, talking about things, देखो यहाँ पे बोला गया है to know about the future work you should know about past, right. Like यहाँ पे एक simple example ले लो students, that if I talk about landlines, okay, पहले के ज़माने में we had landlines to contact to one another, right, बराबर. But now we have moved to cell phones. Why we have moved to cell phones? Because we know कि landline से ज़्यादा ज़रूरत cell phone का है, right. सो यही कि टू मूव इन फर्दर डायरेक्शन यू शुड नो द हिस्ट्री ऑफ पास्ट के लैंडलाइन क्यों काम नहीं किया, हम लोग ने सेल फोन्स में हम लोग क्यों शिफ्ट हुए. सो यू ऑलवेज शुड नो द हिस्ट्री ऑफ पास्ट, राइट. कि पहले का हिस्ट्री आपको पता होना चाहिए. इफ़ यू नो दैट देन ओनली यू कैन डू फर्दर चेंजेस फॉर द वेलफेयर ऑफ थिंग्स, राइट. अभी अगर मुझे पता है दैट आई एम पर्टिकुलरली वीक इन दैट एक पर्टिकुलर सब्जेक्ट में मैं वीक हूँ, बट इफ़ आई एम फोकसिंग ऑन दैट पर्टिकुलर सब्जेक्ट एंड आई एम वर्किंग हार्ड, आई विल डेफिनेटली अचीव इट. बट उसके लिए मुझे पता तो होना चाहिए, राइट. तो वही कि यू शुड नो थिंग, ओके, जो पास्ट से रिलेटेड थिंग है यू should know, then only you can work for the present and also for the betterment of it, okay. So these things like history, this works better in various fields. Now talking about philosophy, now what do you mean by philosophy, students? Philosophy क्या है? Now talking about basic language, it is fundamental of knowledge, right. Basic fundamental knowledge, nature of knowledge is known as philosophy. So now philosophy में कैसे use होता है history, let us see. The history of philosophy helps in understanding the origin of various ideologies, the intellectual the intellectual traditions given rise to those ideologies and their historical development, right? Okay, we get to know about various ideas, right? Various ideas का origin हम लोग को पता चलता है कि क्यों establish किया, उसका history क्या था, right? To give ideas to new ideologies, के to give birth to new ideologies. That is how philosophy में history help करता है. Philosophy needs language as a medium to express, right? कि कभी भी कुछ express करना रहता है हम लोग को, तो हम लोग कैसे करते हैं? There is a medium, right? In order to understand the philosophical expression, knowledge in the history of language proves useful, right? कि अगर आपको कोई भी चीज़ express करनी है, so for that you need to have knowledge, right? Now if I give you a topic, say any topic for debate or any topic for speech, if you don't have knowledge for that particular topic, would you be able to express it in front of others? Nah, right? So that is how it works, that having knowledge about that particular means is having history about that particular thing, and then how you can execute it is the main purpose. Now talking about science के field में how does appliance of history helps us? Let us see. The history of science helps in understanding the chronological order of scientific discoveries, right? कि जो discoveries हुई है उनका chronological order क्या है, कौन से basis पे, कौन से levels पे क्या क्या number wise discoveries हुई है, वो हमें पता चलता है, right? We get to know if we know history about that particular topic. Inventions and theories, it can also help us to understand the cause effect chain that lead to the discovery of inventions. It is said that the need is the mother of invention. Scientific discoveries, inventions are often the effect of human effort to fulfill a need and also curiosity, right? कि अगर need होती है तो ही we develop that. अभी जो example मैंने बताया वो cell phone का, हम लोग उसको elaborate करते, okay? पहले के ज़माने में for communication we used to use landlines, right? Landlines होते थे, telephones जो हम लोग बोलते हैं वो होते थे, right? एक दूसरे को communicate करने को. But at that time people got to know that landlines are just sufficient when you are at home. What about if you are going outside and then you want to contact to someone else, okay, who's also outside? तो उस time पे you needed like a device which you can take within, which you can take with yourself, and then you can have a communication. So that is how an idea clicked, right? That is how a need developed, right? कि एक need होती है. need कब develop हुई कि yes, अगर हम लोग को बाहर जाना है तब बात करना है तो हम कैसे बात करेंगे, तो एक need developed हुई कि yes, phones का होना ज़रूरी है, and that is how phone were being invented, right? So for every purpose या for everything to get invented there is a need in that particular thing. अगर need होता है तो invention create होता है. As the proverb says that need is the mother of invention, that if there is need तही वो invent होता है. These efforts are based on already available scientific knowledge, right? हम लोग के पास already knowledge था कि cell phones, mobile phones, अरे telephones तो था, but उसको हम लोग ऐसे कैसे convert करें so that अगर person वो बाहर लेके जाए तो भी that person can communicate. Knowledge of history of science helps in understanding the factors that facilitates a scientific discovery, invention, and also its chronology, right? कि through science only we can get to know. अभी समझो अगर मुझे कोई चीज़ इन्वेंट करनी है, ठीक है, बट वो ऑलरेडी इन्वेंटेड है पास्ट में, बट आई डोंट नो दैट इट वाज इन्वेंटेड, will it be worth to invent that thing because it is already invented? So that is what they are saying, that having knowledge about the past, जो फील्ड में आप काम कर रहे हो उस फील्ड का पास्ट का नॉलेज होना आपके लिए ज़रूरी है. Now technology, जो एग्जाम्पल मैंने सेल फोन का बताया, that could be perfectly fitted in technology, right? why do technology keeps on increasing as per the demand keeps on increasing, right? पहले छोटा सा सेल फोन आता था, it was very good for communication, but why it increased into smartphone? Why the need increased into smartphone? Because people, वो छोटे से डब्बे फ़ोन में people weren't able to use internet, were not able to click photos or play some music, and that is why the need for scientific, that is why the need for smartphone developed, right? And that is how the need keeps on increasing. Now let us see technology के field में how does it helps. The history of technology helps us to understand the changes and the causes in the field of agriculture production, architecture, engineering, etc. Now let us take an example. Architecture, अरे जो agriculture है, जो farmers है, उनको पहले they used to literally go into the field and cut and harvest the crops, but now they have particular machines or they have certain equipments through which they can do. That is how the need develop, right? And that is for the हेल्प्स देम कि ठीक है, उनको इतना टाइम बच जाता है, टेक्नोलॉजी के थ्रू उनका हेल्प होता है, राइट? Scientific discoveries or inventions and technology advancement are mutually dependent on each other. That all of these things are mutually dependent. Knowledge in science and technology was very important at every step, from making of stone to agriculture products and the evolution of mankind. Later, the advancement of science promoted the mechanism of production. It is necessary to know the history of technology to make or to understand the development of mechanism and the mutual dependence between science and technology, right? That for every purpose, if you're inventing thing or if you're doing some purpose, आप कुछ भी काम कर रहे हो, right? Advancement of science is important and how it would be created if you know the history. कि मेन यहाँ पे वही है कि हिस्ट्री को आप टेक्निकल लाइफ में या पर्टिकुलर प्रैक्टिकल लाइफ में कैसे इन्वेंट कर रहे हो या कैसे यूज़ कर रहे हो, वही बताया गया है, बट इन वेरियस फील्ड्स. Now industry and commerce. Okay, now talking about industries and commerce. Now talking about commercial management, you're talking about cultural interactions. What do you mean by all of these things? Now cultural interactions is particularly group of people आते हैं and they have knowledge or they share knowledge about particular things. Basically describes the relationship between two or three groups of people, and talking about various common topics like cultural behavior, the costumes, various things, etc. तो ये सब डेवलप कल्चरल डेवलपमेंट ऑल्सो. अभी हम लोग को अगर कल्चरल मैनेजमेंट करना है, ओके, तो उसके लिए भी यू शुड हैव नॉलेज, राइट? कि अगर मैं आपको आके आज एक कल्चर के बारे में पूछ रही हूँ या आपके कॉस्ट्यूम्स या कोई भी वे में पूछ रही हूँ, तो आपको भी उसका हिस्ट्री होना ज़रूरी है, राइट? लाइक आई लाइक दिस कॉस्ट्यूम, आई लाइक द मुगल फॉर्म्स, जो मुगल्स के जो ये होते हैं कॉस्ट्यूम्स, आई गेट फैसिनेटेड बाय इट, बट देन आई शुड नो ना कि मुगल्स के टाइम पे वो लोग क्या पहनते थे, व्हाट वर द कॉस्ट्यूम्स. सो हैविंग नॉलेज अबाउट पर्टिकुलर फील्ड हेल्प्स यू टू मेक कमर्शियल मैनेजमेंट. ओके, कि कमर्शियल मैनेजमेंट या आपके डेवलपमेंट के लिए इट इज़ वेरी यूज़फुल. So that was about industries and commerce. Okay, so also if you want to grow in industries, अगर आपको industries में grow करना है, if you want to earn more, for that there should be like more of industries. Okay, now talking about more of industries, industries से ज़्यादा आ गई और जो उनका प्रोडक्शन है वो भी ज़्यादा होना चाहिए. प्रोडक्शन कब ज़्यादा होगा? इफ़ यू नो कि पहले की थिंग्स कैसे है. नाउ आई नो अगर ये प्रोडक्ट इसके साथ नहीं जम रहा तो वो नहीं जमेगा, उनका प्रोडक्ट जो मेन फाइनलाइज प्रोडक्ट आएगा वो अच्छे से नहीं होगा. बट नाउ आई नो दिस थिंग. अगर कोई कल को न्यू वर्कर आता है, उनको नहीं पता होगा ये चीज़, तो देन देयर इज़ नो यूज़, राइट? सो हैविंग नॉलेज अबाउट दैट पर्टिकुलर फील्ड plays a very important role. Now talking about the next topic, which is management studies. Okay, all of these things you should know how to manage them, right? Now what do you mean by management studies? It understand various factors involved charm of productions such as means of production, human resources, product process of production, as well as the chain of market and sales management. So all of these is like a chain के ये सारे टॉपिक्स आ गए, ह्यूमन रिसोर्स आ गए, प्रोडक्शन आ गया, चेन ऑफ प्रोडक्शन आ गया. All of these things, there should be someone to manage it, right? It is essential to understand the psychological character of people working at various levels in the chains of production and marketing. But healthy management, in order to achieve it, understanding the social and economic institution that supports the industrial and commercial production is important. Knowledge and history is the legal makers is the in this regard makers the management at various level easier. Okay, so why has students that having knowledge about that particular thing helps you to grow. Knowledge hai and production hai, all of these things go hand in hand, right? If you have knowledge about particular thing, then only you can produce it, right? So having knowledge about particular thing works in every field, not only all of these fields which are mentioned over here, but in general सब फील्ड में काम होता है, right? अभी आप लोग 10th स्टैंडर्ड का पढ़ रहे हो, but you have knowledge of things which you have covered up in 9th standard, right? So having information about particular field is important in any field. Okay, having information about a particular topic, not only all the things mentioned over here, ये सारे fields तो ठीक है, these are the important fields, but in general also you should have knowledge about things. Now, talking about the next topic, student, the next one is humanities. Humanities include disciplines like history, archaeology, sociology, anthropology, political science, economics, etc. To understand the history of the origin and development of these disciplines is an essential part of their learning. Now what do you mean by discipline, students? Discipline is basically a branch of knowledge, right? So all of these topics are included, like political science ho gaya, economics ho gaya, sociology, anthropology. All of these topics are included to get to know about सर्टेन टॉपिक्स के. ये सारे टॉपिक्स पे रिसर्च होती है. यू कैन सिलेक्ट दिस टॉपिक एज इन सब्जेक्ट ऑफ योर रिसर्च, राइट? सो ऑल डिसिप्लिन्स आर सपोज टू हैव देयर ओरिजिन इन फिलोसफी. सो दे शुड नो अबाउट दैट पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक, हाउ डज इट ओरिजिनेट्स, व्हाट इज़ द बेसिक ऑफ इट. हम लोग बोलते हैं ना दैट इफ़ वी वांट टू लर्न एनी टॉपिक वी शुड नो द बेसिक्स, राइट? अगर बेसिक्स पता है तो टॉपिक कैन बी क्लियर्ड ईजीली. In the same way, if you want to learn about all of these topics, the basics should be cleared. Ancient people all over the world try to speculate in order to understand the relationship between the universe and human existence. Okay, that people, now also people wonder, right, that how the universe is created, how humans were formed, and this leads to many different stories, right? Few say that it was because of God, or few say that it was a human form which was created first, and many other things, right? So this leads to many डेवलपमेंट्स ऑफ थिंग्स, राइट? कि बहुत सारे लोगों के बहुत सारे आंसर्स आते हैं, बट वाई इज़ इट पॉसिबल? ओनली बिकॉज पीपल नो द पास्ट, राइट? कि पीपल को उनके बारे में एक्सपीरियंस है. सो पीपल नो द हिस्ट्री एंड दैट इज़ हाउ दे आर यूजिंग इट ओवर हियर to get this answer. So that is called as applied history, when you know a particular topic in the history and then when you are applying it. Okay, see, it gave rise to various mythological stories about the origin of world, that there were many people who said that how the world was created, the universal order, that what was the order of universe, how was human life created, gods and goddesses, rituals, and the philosophical explanation. Root of philosophical ponderings are to be found in these mythological stories, right? That through all of these stories we get to know about philosophical things which have happened in the past. All of these existence of human forms, gods, etc. is
understood, right? Various disciplines under humanities have theoretical foundation based on philosophical theories. Only historical knowledge can help us in understanding this development stages, right? So now we know that how from a stone age person to how we as a human are being created, all of these history we know, and इसी को हम लोग अभी practical life में use कर रहे हैं, right? Now there are certain topics which we need to clear, so we use all of these past information, and that is how we do, हम लोग आगे प्रोसेस करते हैं. तो इसी को बोलते हैं स्टूडेंट्स के applied history, that you are applying history in the current situation. Okay, next, applied history and our present. People often ask us about the practical value of history. The answer to the question about the nature of applied history answer this question as well. The visible and invisible relics of the past exist in the present. We nurture some kind of curiosity, attraction towards them, right? There are few topics जिसके बारे में इसी को तो research बोलते हैं, right? That there are certain topics which you know but you want to know about it more, and इसी के लिए हम लोग बोलते हैं ना that we are doing the course of research, कि हम लोग उसके ऊपर research करें. Why? Because it generates a kind of curiosity among you, that why, how would have that happened, why this particular thing only. हम लोग questions पूछते हैं, right? we wish to know about we wish to know more about the history because they represent the creative thoughts and traditions of our ancestor. It is our heritage. It helps in building our identity. The history of our heritage links us with our origin, right? कि sometimes all of these things are linked, right? हमारे ancestors से related है, and that is why it kind of creates a curiosity amongst us. Why? Because we want to know, because it is related to us, it is related to people who were with us in the past. Okay, कि जो हमारे people है and वो past से कैसे connected है, ये सारी चीज़ें connected है, and that is why it is our heritage to know, it is our right to know all of these things. Hence, it becomes necessary to preserve and conserve it for future, for our benefits as well as for the benefit of our future generation, right? कि हमारे ancestors ने भी वही सोच के वो सारी चीज़ें preserve की थी. Why? So that today it is useful to us. In the same way, we should preserve all of these information so that our future generation would be beneficial. Applied history is concerned with the preservation and conservation of our heritage and make it accessible to people. As I am saying कि हमें वो knowledge को preserve रखना है so that it can be useful to us as well as जो हमारे आगे की जनरेशन है उनको यूज़फुल रहना चाहिए. Heritage management creates opportunities of employment. In brief, applied history can be described as understanding our present with the help of history and finding right decisions for the benefits of future, right? कि if we want to work for a better future, we should know things which are there currently, right? अगर मुझे कोई टॉपिक दिया है कि चलो आपको ये टॉपिक पे एक प्रोजेक्ट बनाना है, तो वो पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक अभी प्रेजेंट में कैसे चल रहा है, उसको प्रेजेंट में कोई यूज़ कर रहा है कि नहीं, एज वेल एज उसका पास्ट क्या था, कि पास्ट में ऐसा क्या हुआ, सो दैट वी नाउ दैट थिंग हैज़ not that now that thing was not available in the past but now it is available in the present. So you should know the information about all that particular topic, and thus if you make certain changes so that it would be beneficial for you in future, that is what in short means applied history. Okay, now we will see the management of cultural and natural heritage. Cultural heritage, it is in the form of human creation. It is of two types, tangible and intangible. Okay, कि अभी हम लोग ने जब ऊपर हम लोग मैनेजमेंट स्टडीज़ देख रहे थे उसमें हम लोग ने देखा कल्चरल हेरिटेज. सो व्हाट डू मीन बाय कल्चरल हेरिटेज? इट इज़ बेसिकली इन द फॉर्म ऑफ ह्यूमन क्रिएशंस. ओके, कि ह्यूमंस के थ्रू जो हमें पता चलता है हिस्ट्री, उसको बोलते हैं कल्चरल हेरिटेज. नाउ इट इज़ ऑफ टू टाइप्स, वन इज़ tangible and another is intangible. Now what do you mean by tangible? This type of culture heritage includes ancient sites, building, artifacts, manuscripts, sculptures, painting, etc. Okay, so there are particular building या कोई ये हो गया particular manuscript is kind of बुक जिसके ऊपर राइटिंग लिखा गया होता है, या कोई एंशियंट साइट्स हो गए जैसे नाउ वी हैव ताज महल, सर्टन पैलेसेस विच वी हैव, सो दीज आर कॉल्ड एज एंशियंट साइट्स. So all of these ऑब्जेक्ट्स जैसे एंशियंट साइट्स हो गए, बिल्डिंग हो गए, स्क्रिप्चर्स हो गए या ओल्ड पेंटिंग्स हो गए, इनके थ्रू जो हम लोग को हिस्ट्री पता चलता है, और इनके थ्रू द इंफॉर्मेशन विच वी गेट इज कॉल्ड एज टैंजिबल कल्चरल हिस्ट्री, द one which you get from certain monuments or certain objects. Now the second one is intangible. Now what do you mean by intangible cultural heritage? This type of cultural heritage includes the following things: oral traditions and the language, the one which are introduced to us through speeches or through आर्ट्स और कल्चर, जो हम लोग को स्पीच के थ्रू या हम लोग ने पहले देखा पोवाड़ाज होते हैं उनके थ्रू जो हमें पता चलता है, दैट इज़ कॉल्ड एज oral tradition and the language. So it is also a part of intangible cultural heritage. The second is traditional knowledge, social customs and rituals of celebrating festivals, style of performing arts, certain traditional skills, communities, group who represent such tradition, customs and skills. Okay, so style of performing arts, that a particular art can be performed in various styles. Then certain traditional skills, what are our traditions, what are the skills required for it, traditional skills, what are the culture of our past, all of these things are being included in intangible cultural history. Okay, now talking about natural heritage. What do you mean by natural heritage? The concept of natural heritage gives importance to the thought of biodiversity. It includes the following things: as the name suggests, it is related to something which is related to nature. जो पहले का था that was culture heritage. Okay, जो हमारा culture है, जो हमारा tradition है, उनके थ्रू हमें जो history पता चलता है students, that is called as cultural heritage. Now cultural heritage two type का हो सकता है. एक तो we get to know information about clothes या arts, that is all intangible, and another is tangible जो हम लोग को monuments या structures से पता चलता है. Now natural heritage, one which is related to nature, fauna, flora, ecology and geomorphic characteristics, which is crucial for sustaining the flora and fauna of a particular region. Okay, flora, fauna and ecology and geomorphic characteristics. Okay, the flowers, the plants, the ecology and the geomorphic characteristics, जो ये सारी चीज़ें includes होती है, that is when we say it is a natural heritage. Let us see further to get to know more about it. It is essential for the benefit of future generation to preserve our heritage, right? If we don't preserve our heritage, it won't be beneficial for our future generation, right? And even they would think कि हमारे ancestors ने तो हमारे लिए कुछ बचा के ही नहीं रखा, and that is why we are growing more trees, more plants, right? So that it is beneficial for our future generation. UNESCO, the global organization, has announced some directives with the objective of promoting the culture and natural heritage. Now we know certain traditions, certain cultures, right? Why do we know that? Because of our family, because of our parents, that they got to know, they उन्होंने हम लोग को इंट्रोड्यूस किया, राइट? दे इंट्रोड्यूस अस टू ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स. नाउ व्हाई, हाउ डिड दे इंट्रोड्यूस अस? बिकॉज देयर पेरेंट्स रिजर्व्ड इट, राइट? एंड दैट वाज ट्रांसफर्ड फ्रॉम their parents to them. At the same time वो हम लोग को pass out करते हैं. That is how we will pass out to our future generation. So preserving the culture, preserving the tradition plays a very important role. On the basis of those directives, list of sites and traditions are declared as World Heritage. Okay, the list of UNESCO World Natural Heritage now includes Western Ghats. The Karst Plateau in the district Satara is also the part of Western Ghats. So all of these things, all of these places which are reserved, why? For the site of traditions, yet for the purpose of traditions. ये सारी चीज़ों को हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं? This is being called as World Heritage by UNESCO. All of these places or monuments through which you get to know information about past or through which our culture is maintained, all of these were included in World Heritage. Okay, so out of which one is sorry. So yeah, we will see further on page number 19. Cultural and natural heritage management is one of the main aspects of applied history. The work of conservation and preservation of culture heritage falls under the jurisdiction of the Archaeological Survey of India and Indian State Department of Archaeology. Besides, INTAC, that is India National Trust for Art and Cultural Heritage, is actively working in this field. Okay, so INTAC or India's State Department of Archaeology, all of these people or all of these institutes are working for the preservation of our culture. Now, what do you mean by preservation of culture? If you see the picture above, the Kailasa temple, which is given by, दिस इज़ अ स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ एन ओल्ड कल्चर कि हमारा ओल्ड कल्चर या ट्रेडिशन कैसा था, उनका प्रिजर्वेटिव है ये, उन्होंने उसको कंजर्व रखा है, दे हैव कंजर्व्ड इट, एंड दैट इज़ वाई वी आर एबल टू सी ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स, राइट? लाइक द मार्बल्स विच आर यूज, द स्टोन विच आर यूज फॉर दिस पर्पज वुड नेवर बी फाउंड इन दिस पर्टिकुलर टाइम के अभी के पीरियड में वैसा stones या marble find करना difficult है, and that is why they have maintained it. So all of these branches are working further to preserve our culture and natural heritage. The work of conservation and preservation of cultural and natural heritage requires participation from experts from various fields, right? That experts are needed to preserve all of these information. They need to be duly aware of the cultural, social, and political histories of the heritage site. Principles of applied histories are useful in creating the awareness among them. Okay, so what are the principles of applied history? Let us see, so that they preserve these things and also aware people about them. Okay, the first one is the operations necessary for the conservation, preservation, and development of the heritage site can be handled without causing any change in its original state, right? कि जो particular place है उसको वैसा ही हैंडल करना है, there should not be any changes done in that particular site. Yeah, the maintenance and everything is fine to maintain it, हम लोग उसमें थोड़ा सा changes करते हैं, but the entire change in that particular object shouldn't be done. The local social structure and psychology of local people, challenges faced by them in the present situation, and the expectations can be surveyed in this detail. Now, what all things is include that the local social structure and the people mentality about that particular thing. Few people are like, why do you need to preserve this? उससे अच्छा ये place पे हम लोग कुछ और बनाते. But no, so they have to deal with all of these things like people mentality. They have to deal with it. What are current expectations from that particular place? That okay, fine, if you are preserving it, what are the expectations, उसमें और क्या क्या changes ला सकते, so that it is conveyed to people in a more easier way. So all of these points are included in the characteristics or the principles of applied history. Due precautions can be taken to avoid hurting sentiments of the local people while completing the projects of conservation, preservation, and development of a heritage site, right? That जो place पे वहाँ पे बना रहे हैं, the sentiments of people should not be destroyed or disturbed. Okay, that उनका ध्यान में रखते हुए changes should be made. Participation of local people in the project can be facilitated, right? If local people are participating, it would be beneficial, right? Because they are the one who know about that particular thing very well, rather than us जो वहाँ पे रिसाइड करते हैं, उनको ज़्यादा इन्फॉर्मेशन पता है वो प्लेस से, rather than us. So including them in this participation or including them in this project would be a great benefit. Systematic plan can be designed to employ the local skills in a creative way and create better opportunities in livelihood. Okay, that a systematic planning should be done. If you are making any changes or if you are designing anything, systematic planning should be done so that the processes run smoothly. Now, affiliated professional fields. Knowledge of history can be supportive in the decision making with regard to respective legal provisions and public policies in the following fields, right? If you have knowledge about a particular thing, then it could be helpful for you if you are making a legal decision making. कि अगर आपको कोई decision बनाना है या कोई public policy में करना है, काम करना है या उसमें कोई अपना ओपिनियन रखना है, तो हैविंग अ हिस्ट्री अबाउट दैट, हैविंग अ नॉलेज अबाउट दैट पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट. सो व्हिच ऑल फील्ड्स यू कैन ऐड योर पॉइंट्स? द फर्स्ट वन इज म्यूजियम एंड आर्चिव्स. नाउ व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय आर्चिव्स? Archives is a place where old documents are being preserved. Okay, so you can give your opinion in museum and archive के उनसे related कोई law making है या decision making है, and if you know about history then you can keep your opinion in it. Preservation and conservation of historical site. Again, if you have history about that particular site, then you can keep your opinions and how can you prevent it and how can you conserve it. tourism and hospitality and entertainment and mass media. Again, tourism, अगर वो particular place के बारे में, if you have knowledge about it, then you can keep your opinion in it, and also you can help people around there to, उसका tourism और बढ़ाने के लिए you can help people around there. So that is how you can keep your opinion in a particular thing if you are well informed about that particular places. And how would you be informed about that particular place? If you have a perfect knowledge of that particular place. Okay, coming to the next part. See, now coming towards the next part, the Indian Museum at Kolkata was founded by the Asiatic Society in 1814 CE. Nathaniel Wallich, a Danish botanist, was the founder and the first curator of the museum. Okay, so the Nathaniel Wallich, he was a Danish botanist. He was the founder of this museum. The photography of the museum seen here is dated to 1905. The museum has three main departments: art, archaeology, and anthropology. Other affiliated departments are conservation, publication, photography, exhibition presentation, model making, training, library, security. So other affiliated departments, ऊपर हम लोग ने देखे, there were few of them, but other are like publication, photography. In this field also you can mend your opinion if you have knowledge about that particular thing. Every field mentioned here requires expert personnel with specialized skill. For example, architects, engineers, historians, archaeologists, museum curators, sociology, archive management, professional, legal experts, skilled photographers, etc. If you want to talk about this in particular field, you have to pick someone who's well informed about it, who's specialized in that particular thing. Of course, this is just a representative list. The help of experts from many more fields is required. These experts need to have adequate knowledge of the ancient site, the historical background of the structure, remains and artifacts, right? These all ये जो things जो सारे mention किए, this is just an example, but again the list of helpers could be many more who know about that particular thing. And knowing about that particular thing is not like कि okay थोड़ा सा information Google कर लिया वैसा कुछ, but you should have a particular depth of information about that thing. Project in the fields of applied history can create various opportunities for these professionals. In this lesson, we learned about the role of applied history in public training programs for understanding the importance of history and for creating social awareness regarding the preservation of our cultural and natural heritage using knowledge of history for this purpose to enhance the professional skills of people and to develop industry commercial field to carry out preparatory work and plan for effective implementation of heritage projects, etc. It is essential to avoid vandalizing of historic and public places and to ensure that they are preserved for the benefit of future generation. Right? कि हम लोग ने ये सारे chapter में क्या पढ़ा students, that we got to know about history, what is applied history, how we are applying it in our day-to-day life, how it is used for for knowledge of a particular purpose, how we can preserve it, how we can preserve our culture and natural heritage, then how we can use this knowledge if we want to make any changes in it, or if we want to mend our opinions in it, how you can mend your opinions if you have a firm knowledge about that particular thing, right? So preserving all of these monuments is very important. Why? Because it is a part of our history, and through it we get to know, we get to learn so many things related in our history. So that is why it is important to conserve all of these sources and to make sure that no harm is made to any of these monuments or any of this source. Okay, it is beneficial, it would be beneficial to our future generation if we preserve this information, right? Or else they won't have any thing to learn in our history. If we don't preserve all of these things, वो लोग क्या पढ़ेंगे? अगर हिस्ट्री का बात चल रहा है तो वो लोग क्या पढ़ेंगे? And that is why it is very important to preserve all of these sources. Fine. Now coming towards the exercise part, students, फिलअप्स है, मैच द फॉलोइंग है, आंसर इन 25 to 30 words है, brief answers है. All of these things would be a homework. If you have understood the chapter properly, I am damn sure that you would be able to write all of them. Okay, I hope you have understood the chapter, students. In this chapter we got to know about applied history, how it is applied in various fields, how we can preserve it, the things, the objectives of awareness, like what are the objectives, what are the principles of applied history, right? How it is applied in our present as well as हमारे फ्यूचर का कैसे हम लोग उसमें अप्लाई कर सकते हैं if we have a particular knowledge about past and present. Okay, so that was it for today's session, students. We'll see you all in the next with a new chapter. Till then, bye bye and take care. Bye.